We gather here tonight to bring women back to their rightful place.
The Testaments, a new Hulu original series from the executive producers of The Handmaid's Tale.
It's easier to accept a story than believe that the people around you are monsters.
The battle isn't over.
There comes a time when you have to take action, when you have to choose your own destiny.
Never quite as it seems.
Watch the new Hulu original series, The Testaments, streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
People love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And I'm Jake Novak filling in for Roger Stone again on the Stone Zone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Hey, you got to listen till the end of the hour of this program because I don't know if enough of you listening, and definitely your children, are familiar enough with the Dirty Harry movies, which is a darn shame. And there was an outrageous statement. Now, she makes an outrageous statement every day by the First Lady of California earlier this week. And it really, really required an iconic response and an iconic line from one of the Dirty Harry movies. So I'm going to pair those two pieces of sound for you together at the end of the program. You really need to hear that. So that'll be at like 54, 55 minutes after the hour. Make sure you're here for that. But let's start the program right now with obviously the biggest story here in the United States, the biggest story worldwide, and that is this, what can we call it? Fragile, precarious, I don't know if it's going to happen, ceasefire, whatever you want to call it. Right now, you've got both sides with a good claim saying that the ceasefire is certainly not being adhered to, at least not so far. The Iranians, of course, we have the hard evidence, are not adhering to the ceasefire yet. And as I was talking about with James Flippin before, for those of you who are listening to that on many of these stations, that's nothing new. That's the Iranian MO. Their terror proxy armies do this all the time. A ceasefire is declared, and then for the next 36 hours or so, they get in some last shots here and there. That's what Hamas, the Iranian proxy, does all the time. That's what Hezbollah does all the time. The Houthis have done this kind of stuff too. But ask the folks in Bahrain, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia and Israel how that ceasefire is working out for them so far, because they've all been attacked. There's been damage. Not so much in Israel, but definitely in some of those other places, especially UAE. And, of course, I'll get to more of this in a second, of course, the mainstream media has decided not to talk about that, but to quote just directly without any comment, just no any filter. They just quote directly the Speaker of the Iranian parliament, who says that it's the U.S. side and the Israeli side who have broken the ceasefire. You know, I have a little bit of advice for everyone in the mainstream media. You are not required to repeat what the Iranian regime says word for word. You're just not. You're not. You don't have to do that. Find out either what's true. You can certainly mention it, but you don't have to quote it word for word. And you don't have to lead your websites, which they're all doing right now, saying Iranian speaker says U.S. I mean, it's just it's incredible the way that they act as mouthpieces for a regime that kills everybody. I would say they're threatening America, but that would really be an understatement. They kill everybody, mostly their fellow Muslims. I mean, the Iranian body count on America is a disgrace. The Iranian body count on Israelis is a disgrace. But it doesn't hold a candle to the Iranian body count on their fellow Muslims. They kill them in industrial strength levels. My goodness. These are the people who want to lead the Muslim world. By how? Killing everybody else who doesn't support them within the Muslim world? They'll have 3 people left. But my advice tonight is more for the Democratic Party. And for those of you who don't want the Democratic Party to succeed, I have good news for you. They never listen to me. I have been giving solid advice to the Democrats for years, not in the hopes of helping them win elections, but just in the hopes of getting them back to the realm of reality, getting them back to the Bill Clinton Democrat Party that was at least sane. You know, Bill Clinton busted his butt for a number of years really starting in like 1987, to try to bring the Democrat Party back to the middle, to make it more pro-capitalist, to make it pro-death penalty, to make it a little bit agnostic, at least, on gun control. He worked very hard to do that. It was like pulling teeth at times, but he succeeded with that, and that's why he won elections. And if he hadn't have ruined everything for himself, and in many ways for the more moderate Democrat Party with the Lewinsky scandal, which he did, he ruined his brand. He ruined any influence he could have over the party after he left office because of that. It's possible we would have had still more of a sane Democratic Party today, but we don't. But I have to tell you, if the Democrats want to win elections, they're doing it all wrong. I know that they may get some polling saying, hey, there's a lot of people who hate Trump. So if you oppose everything he does, including a war against a murderous regime that's been killing Americans and everybody else for 47 years, you'll get a couple of points here and there in the polls. Baloney. What the Democrats don't understand is that if they supported this war, they would do much better for themselves. If all they want is power. I keep hearing people say, well, they're opposing Trump because they want power. Really? They don't have to say we're supporting Trump. They could just say we're supporting this war. And then somebody will say, well, does that mean you're supporting Trump? They could say, no, we're just supporting this war. They could say a broken clock is right, twice a day, a stop. They can make any other excuse for that. Come out in favor of the war. It will help you. Now, they're not going to listen to me because one of the things I like to do is I refer to myself very often as having an alter ego. My alter ego is Jake Novak, unemployable political consultant. Why am I unemployable? Because I give good advice. Political consultants in this country, the professional political consultant class, give bad advice. And the reason why they get away with it is the country is so split down the middle that even the worst political consultant is going to have a 500 batting average, or maybe 502. And they walk around boasting, I've won 50.2% of my elections. Big deal. It's a split country. Any squirrel could do that. The Democrats need to understand that they could do much better, much, much better if they were just sane, but they're not sane. And when you're not sane, you turn yourself into a pretzel. And one of the guys who turned himself into a pretzel several times over the last 36 hours is a guy named Ro Khanna. He's a congressman representing a lot of Silicon Valley. And early yesterday morning, he was calling President Trump a war criminal for threatening to destroy Iran. And then later in the day, the same day, he had this to say. Check this out, cut 4.
As a human being and as an American citizen, I am relieved that Donald Trump has accepted a ceasefire and withdrawn his threat to destroy Iranian civilization. But let's be clear, this did not happen because of Congress, which barely made a whimper. This happened because of the force of the American people. Not just progressives and liberals, but conservatives like Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and even Ann Coulter spoke out against the horror of threatening genocide against another people. This tells me one thing. The only thing that will save this country, the only thing that will save our democracy is a broad populist social movement, anti-Epstein class, anti-war, pro-working class.
And then he also said that basically Trump chickened out later on. You got to twist yourself into a pretzel. First of all, he used the word genocide. That was never in President Trump's threats. And there's been an incredibly small number of civilian deaths in this war. So much so that when the bombs go off, either from the Israelis or the United States, the Iranian citizens come out to cheer it. They know they're not being targeted. There's no genocide here. We can laugh at these people for using the word genocide and not really knowing what they're talking about or deliberately lying about it. But, it's no laughing matter. I'm sorry. I had relatives who were killed in a real genocide. Okay. So I'm not really going to let them get away with that. Either when they accuse Israel of it and it's false, it's always false. When they accuse the United States of it, it's always false. They're not perfect. Israel and the United States aren't perfect. But we've never committed genocide against anyone. Even the Native Americans, there wasn't a genocide. It wasn't a planned policy to eradicate the entire Native American population. They were marginalized. They were sent to reservations. They were not treated. I mean, all that is true. But there wasn't a campaign to get rid of every. I mean, if that were the case, they would have been gone a long time ago. But even that's the worst example. Even that. And that was egregious in a lot of ways. We can all agree on that. But that wasn't a genocide either. And this is not a genocide. Stop using that terminology. It's a disgrace. It's really a disgrace. And then, when you don't support this war against an evil enemy of everyone, including liberals, including Democrats, you get other morons who make fools of themselves instead of riding something that would make them look more prestigious, more statesmanlike. You get a guy like Larry O'Donnell on MS Now making this moronic comment. Who let him say this on the air? Listen to this.
That brilliant rescue was described by the Secretary of Defense and by General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a long-standing American military rule of never leaving anyone behind.
We leave no man behind.
That is, of course, the old-school version of the idea back when only men flew American military planes. General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, put it this way.
We leave no one behind.
The general knows, unlike Pete Hegseth, that could have been a woman they were trying to rescue, and it might be a woman the next time.
What? He said no man behind. That's the thing that Larry O'Donnell wants to harp on after this amazing rescue. I mean, these people are embarrassing. I mean, it's almost like we're in a freshman seminar class at some college. Oh, I should say fresh person, right? Or first-year student. Sorry, Larry. I mean, these people are not serious people. I don't care how fancy a suit Lawrence O'Donnell has or how well his teleprompter is focused in his camera. He's a child. He's an absolute child. And this is what happens when you don't take the more logical path, which is to support the United States in a war against an evil enemy, period. Stop worrying about whatever libertarian or isolationist theory that you think you know, which you don't. And support the fact that you've got hundreds of thousands of American troops, both men and women, Larry, who are in harm's way. It'll be good for you in the polls. It'll be good for you in the ratings. But you see, the problem is the people who are supporting the Democratic Party right now are not looking for any kind of a pro-American result to anything. It's not like they're saying, well, we want to replace Trump because it'll be better for America without him. No, they are supported by the enemies of this country, people like Neville Singham, this guy in China, people like George Soros, who hate the United States of America, who have significant financial bets against the success of this country, and on down the line. And it isn't just in war, it's also on the streets with crime. I'm Jake Novak, filling in for Roger Stone. I'm going to tell you about that Ukrainian refugee who was murdered and the latest in that case. And we come right back.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
He likes politics and he's a professional at the highest level. Roger Stone. Where's Roger?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
Roger Stone, who's a very, one of the smartest political minds. Roger Stone was persecuted. People forget he's actually a brilliant political analyst.
Now, get him his own. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And I'm Jake Novak, filling in for Roger Stone on this Wednesday, April 8th. Thank you so much for joining us. In about 15 minutes, I got more examples of media and politicians twisting themselves into pretzels instead of just doing what would be good for them. Really, literally for them. It would help their ratings for the media people. It would help their poll numbers for politicians if they would just follow common sense. And if it just happens to be the same thing that Donald Trump is doing at any given time of the day, don't worry about it. You'll still win elections if you follow common sense. And you might win an election or two, even though you're pushing against common sense, but you may not have a country left to lead if you keep doing that. And that's what the Democrats keep risking every single time. Speaking of common sense being ignored, it's just incredible how many cities in this country, even in red states, because there are so many blue cities within red states, et cetera, the common sense that has been ignored when it comes to dealing with violent crime. And we have an update on one of the worst violent crimes we've seen in this country in the last year or so, and that was the brutal stabbing murder of Irina Zarutska on that Charlotte light rail, and it was all caught on video. Many of you saw that video. No rhyme or reason to it, just a man behind her who stabbed her to death. No provocation, no robbery. I was explaining to my parents the other day, because we all lived in New York in the 1980s together as a family. They've long since left New York, but they're visiting me for the Passover holiday, and I was explaining to them that crime in New York now is not of the nature it was in the 1980s or 1970s when it was property-based crime. People were trying to steal you. They were trying to snatch your gold chain. They were trying to steal your watch. They were trying to get some money, and it might have been for drugs or it might have been for whatever it was. And so there were things that you could do sort of to protect yourself. I mean, they literally told you when you moved to New York, I moved to New York in 1981, keep a little mugger money in your pocket, $5-10, so that they won't kill you for having nothing and you're not giving them too much money. If you have a nice engagement ring, turn it around so they can't see the diamond. If you're wearing a fur coat, don't go out at night. Don't go onto the subway all these kinds of things. None of that matters now. The nature of crime right now is no rhyme or reason. Usually mentally ill, career violent criminals will just kill you any time of the day for no reason whatsoever, which in a lot of ways is more frightening. But I think it's actually more encouraging because it's easy to figure out that problem. That one's an easier one. Just lock them up. And for all of you out there, all you amateur and even some of you professional psychiatrists and psychologists who say, well, putting them in jail won't cure them. Okay, maybe you're right. You know what else won't cure them? I can tell you one thing. The streets ain't going to cure them either. It's going to make it worse. And it's also going to put a lot of innocent people in harm's way. This man, a poor excuse for a man, DeCarlos Brown Jr., who stabbed Irina Zarutska, and it's all on tape. This is no longer, I don't have to say allegedly. It's all on tape. His lawyers aren't denying it. Had many, many violent arrests. He should never have been out on the streets. Never. Well, he was determined today to be unfit for trial mentally. Now, it's not official. He won't be tried regularly criminally because the judge has to sign off on it. But honestly, folks, unless you're completely insane, which means you don't know what you're doing, you literally don't know what you're doing, it's a very hard bar to clear, you should be tried criminally. And if he goes to prison and doesn't get cured, so be it. The streets wouldn't cure him either. When I come back, I'm going to talk more about the dangers of not supporting America when we're at war. I'm Jake Novak, in for Roger Stone. This is the Stone Zone.
TaxAct knows every small business owner has different tax filing needs. With TaxAct, you can file yourself with the help of an expert, or TaxAct can do it all for you. You're the boss, the head honcho, the top banana. And TaxAct is like your loyal, trusty tax aide, ready to pounce on any tax needs you might have. TaxAct is dying to pounce on some small business tax needs. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
This is the Stone Zone. Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone?
Here's Roger Stone.
And I'm Jake Novak filling in on the Stone Zone once again. Loving the opportunity to speak with you. Look, folks, you got to stay to the end of the hour because at about 55 after the hour, maybe a little earlier, certainly after the 50-minute mark, we're going to hear Dirty Harry with an important comment for Mrs. Gavin Newsom, Jessica C. Bell, because she's been the gift that keeps on giving. She had something to say about San Quentin. And if you're a Dirty Harry fan and you hear the word San Quentin, you know where I'm going with this, but a lot of you probably don't because you've forgotten your great Dirty Harry movies. There were a lot of them, but of course the two you got to see is the original Dirty Harry and Magnum Force. If you don't see the others, I'm going to give you a pass. You got to see those two. I really feel like that should be part of a requirement of American citizenship. I'm only half joking. Anyway, you'll hear what Dirty Harry had to say about San Quentin. Folks, I say this all the time. I don't know if anyone else really gets this. I do think that people like Larry Kudlow agree with me on this. I talked to him about it for a long time when I worked with him. A few other people like it. Folks, Bill Clinton built an unbeatable Democrat Party. He just did. He really did. He made a Democrat Party that was pro-business. He made a Democrat Party that was at least kind of agnostic about gun control. He made sure to show everyone that he owned guns and went hunting. He made a Democrat Party that was pro-death penalty. During the 1992 campaign, he made a big show of dropping off the campaign trail for a day so he could personally oversee an execution in Arkansas when he was governor there. And on down the line. It just made it a lot easier to pull the lever for a Democrat. And the Republican Party was in trouble. If it hadn't been for his personal scandals, I mean, he would have had well over 400 electoral votes in 1996. Already the scandals were kind of leaking out. People didn't completely trust him, even though he was genuinely or generally likable in person. You don't meet a lot of people who say that Bill Clinton is not likable if they met him in person, by the way, even staunch Republicans. Well, anyway, one of the things that he did is he made it okay for Democrats to just do common sense stuff, not twist themselves into knots and say like, well, I know he raped and murdered someone, but we should be not. I mean, all the pretzels that they have to twist themselves into. And they're currently doing that with this war in Iran. This is an evil regime that has been killing Americans for 47 years, that has been killing their fellow Muslims, civilians, for 47 years, that has been attacking Israel for 47 years, that has sponsored so much terrorism all over the world, including bombing community centers in Argentina and attacking people in Paris. Nothing to do with Iran. This is an evil, evil regime. Stop twisting yourself into a pretzel to say you're against this war just because Trump declared it. Stop. Just stop. It'll be better for you. Forget about being better for the country. I'm going to talk real brass tacks to you Democrats right now. This will help you in the polls. It will anger the crazed anti-Trump people in your party. Who are they going to vote for if they don't vote for you? You got their vote. Oh, they'll stay home. No, they're not. And if they do, so what? You'll make up for them and in double those moderate, kind of undecided people who will now vote for you. Don't worry, folks, if you're pro-Republican and conservative like me. The Democrats never listen to me because, again, my alter ego is Jake Novak, unemployable political consultant. See, I give good advice, which is why no one listens to it. Political consultants who succeed in this country give bad advice to hurt the country, and they think they're succeeding because in a split country, you're going to win 50% of the time, all the time anyway. That's another story. Don't worry, they won't listen to me. I want a better country, though, and I wish they would. It would be nice if the party that opposes my party is sane. It's not. It's just not. And there's plenty of insane Republicans out there, too. I understand that. I'll deal with them another day. But right now, we've got people twisting themselves in knots, including people like Erin Burnett. Erin Burnett's been a hostess on CNN for a long time. Her ratings have been weak from day one. I don't know how she keeps... I tell you got to give her credit because so many other CNN hosts have lost their positions over during the time that she's been there. She's been there at least 10 years with this program, more than that. But, you know, somebody noticed that she keeps changing her tune about Iran depending on what Trump does. Whatever he does, it's wrong. And so someone put together... a little montage of her changing her positions depending on the time of day. This is cut 5.
This timeline of Iran being a few weeks away from a nuclear bomb is in direct contradiction to CNN's reporting. According to U.S. intelligence assessments, Iran is 3 years away from being able to produce a nuclear weapon if they wanted to. So the facts on Iran getting a nuclear weapon do not bear out the claim at the heart of what has put the world on the verge of world war. Iran's uranium may still be intact and in Iranian control, 408 kilograms of it. Now, enough theoretically, according to experts, to make 9 nuclear weapons. It only set back the Iranian nuclear program by months. We got to call it like it is. It's a big deal. Sources tell CNN there is no U.S. intelligence that Iran is building missiles that could soon hit the United States. That's a really big deal.
Well, which is it, Aaron? She keeps saying, first she says, oh, Iran wasn't on the verge of a weapon. Then after the attack that Trump ordered in Operation Midnight Hammer, she says, oh, this didn't ruin, and they're still imminently on top of a bomb. Wait a minute, you just said they weren't imminently on top of a bomb. Then, I mean, it just goes all over the place. Aaron Burnett has an executive producer. Whoever he or she is not her friend. She's not her own friend either. One of the jobs, and I was a TV news executive producer, including at places like CNN, for over 30 years. And I can tell you that I would never leave my anchor out to dry like that. I kept track of what he said or she said, and would never let them embarrass themselves in such a way. Ever. Ever. You have a bad producer, Aaron. You need to get a better producer who will do right by you, because they're not doing right by you. It's as simple as that. CNN isn't also doing right by itself because they platform this guy. This is a guy named Hassan Piker, a vicious anti-Semite, vicious anti-American. They literally put him on the air. Here's what he has to say about another issue. Listen to this guy.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott, okay? You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott, you wouldn't make him the current, what is his current office? What is he? He's the Richard Lynn Scott, is an American attorney, businessman, politician, Navy veteran, serving as the senior United States Senator from Florida, a seat he has held since 2019. And also, I believe this past election cycle, he was literally the f***ing head of the, what was it, like the Senate committee or something?
This is a guy they put on the air. A guy who's advocating the murder of a sitting U.S. Senator. Dana Bash, another hostess, reporter, whatever you want to call her on CNN, later in the day called out Hassan Piker, and she's getting a lot of kudos for that, for talking about what a bad person this is. Oh, good for her. Never mentioning that her own network platformed the guy earlier in the day or the day before. These people who are producing at CNN, and there's fewer and fewer of them. When I worked at CNN between the years 2000 and 2007, we had a massive staff, both in New York and in Atlanta. I think there's like 20 people working there now. I mean, I'm exaggerating. It's not that little, but it is a shell of its former self. And yet they still can't get all their signals in a row. Who did that to Dana Bash? Who allowed her to go on the air and bash someone who was on the air and not tell her, oh, by the way, he was on our air earlier. You might want to either acknowledge that or what, you know? I mean, it's just amazing. These people don't have coworkers who are their friends or have their back. It's just amazing to me. Again, don't worry, folks, if you hate CNN. Don't worry, folks, if you hate Aaron Burnett. I promise you, nobody working for her tomorrow is going to be like, wow, I heard that Jake Novak filling in for Roger Stone. I need to do a better job. They're not going to do that, even if they do hear it. And a lot of them do employ what we call clip services, that every time their person is mentioned, so they might actually get a rundown and actually see what I said. But they're not going to do anything differently. I promise you they won't. Because they're locked into something other than doing the right thing. But I'm not even talking so much about being so morally correct. I'm talking about selfish self-interest. And you know, every great achievement in human history is pretty much the result of selfish self-interest. Somebody wanting to do it for money, somebody wanting to do it for fame, somebody wanting to do it for power, whatever. And sure, they may have had some altruistic reasons on top of that, but if it weren't for a little selfish self-interest, it wouldn't have been achieved. You know who said that first? I'm not going to say it without attribution. The great Milton Friedman, a Nobel Prize-winning economist. These days, he wouldn't get anywhere near a Nobel Prize because he was a pro-capitalist economist. They wouldn't let him touch or even think about getting a Nobel Prize today. But you should read his book, Freedom to Choose. You should go on the internet and look at his interviews with Phil Donahue back in the late 70s, early 80s, where he explains capitalism and the motivations behind things. These people, Dana Bash and Aaron Burnett and their producers, and these people like the Democratic Party are not, believe it or not, they are not acting in a selfish self-interest. They are acting as if they're apparatchiks in a Bolshevik movement funded by people who hate this country. And that's not a conspiracy theory. George Soros hates the United States. He has a long-standing bet on the collapse of the U.S. dollar. He is a billionaire today because he bet on the British pound collapsing. It did. And he's hoping to repeat that success with the destruction of the American economy, which is why he supports opening up the jails. He's not a leftist. What, do you think he's a leftist who loves criminals? He's not. He's an anarchist. He's a grave robber. He's been a grave robber since he was 8 years old, robbing the homes of his fellow Jews in Hungary during the Holocaust. And I don't blame the 8-year-old George Soros for that, but I blame the current 90-year-old George Soros for never changing that MO. And this guy Neville Singham, who's living in China and calling himself a communist, he's a billionaire, supporting all of these movements in the United States, all these protests and everything else like that. They're not leftists. Calling them leftists is that would imply that they have some kind of political philosophy where they believe the world, and America included, will be a better place if we follow these leftist ideologies. No, they're enemies of the United States. They know darn well these leftist policies will destroy this country. That's why they're supporting them. I can deal with someone who disagrees with me from the left and believes America will be better if we just open all the prisons and we do X, Y, and Z and never fight any wars against terrorists. If they really believe America will be better for that, that's fine. But no one really representing that position is actually doing that. They're rooting against America, literally. That's not a stretch. Now, another thing that today's Democrats do is they think you're an idiot. Some of them are idiots too, so, I guess they're simpatico. So when it comes to explaining things, they treat you like an idiot, and then they get their facts wrong, and they don't understand the context. Here's the governor of Massachusetts. She is the governor. Her name is Maura Healey. And here she is explaining why energy prices cost so much. Listen to this.
Energy bills are high. Everyone can see that. So lowering your energy bills is my top priority. Now, how does that happen? That's a little more complicated. So let's talk about energy in a way that everyone understands. With munchkins. Picture this. You're at work or school, wherever. It's 9 a.m. and no one's eaten breakfast. Someone shows up with one of these. Demand is high. Everyone wants a munchkin or 2 or 3, but we've only got 25. That's where we're headed with energy. So how do we fix that? See this glazed munchkin? That's wind. Massachusetts already has an offshore wind project lowering our energy bills as we speak. And we need more. It's affordable, homegrown energy, and it'll create thousands of jobs. This sprinkled munchkin, that's solar. Solar is the cheapest, fastest way we can bring more energy into Massachusetts. This chocolate munchkin, that's storage. Storage is when we take energy off the grid when it's cheaper and we store it like you do in a battery. And then we use it later when we need it most. States across the country are going after more storage, and so is Massachusetts. And that's not all. We're going after geothermal and nuclear, gas, hydro, energy efficiency too. And I just signed an executive order to supercharge our all-of-the-above energy strategy to bring more energy in and to lower our bills. Now Donald Trump wants to take energy options off the table. You and I both know messing with Dunkin' in Massachusetts is never a good idea because we know that when everyone gets a munchkin or 2 or 3, everyone's happy. And when there's enough energy to go around, prices go down. So that's why we're saying yes to all kinds of energy and the lower bills and good jobs that come with it. Now, what are you guys going to do with all these munchkins?
Now, I wanted to play that entire soundbite from the Governor Healey, because I didn't want anyone to accuse me of taking things out of context, because it's just so stupid. Again, whatever political consultant advised her on that, whoever wrote that, is not her friend. First of all, the analogy is completely false. When you buy a carton of munchkins, it all costs the same. There isn't a more expensive munchkin. She's talking about all kinds of different energies, some of which is incredibly expensive, some of which isn't. She also lied about solar energy being the cheapest form. It's not cheap if it isn't reliable, okay? Sure, you don't pay to drill solar, but if it doesn't work when you need it, on a cold day or on a cloudy day, then it isn't efficient, and then it ends up costing you more money. Also, there isn't a scarcity of one kind or the other. And if you do, you don't go to that. It's just incredible. It's a terribly false analogy. What an embarrassing person. And these so-called all of the above energy strategies are great when you have plenty of money. But you can't do all of the above when you only have so much money, and you got to be careful with what you have. I can't be going after solar when nuclear is cheaper and we're dealing with AI and other strains on the grid. I can't do that. And meanwhile, the wealthy people in Cape Cod and Hyannisport are blocking any more wind projects because it blocks their view. I mean, the whole thing is just incredible. But she thinks you're stupid, and the people who wrote that for her aren't her friend. It's simple. It's as simple as that. All right, when we come back here on the Stone Zone, we're going to listen from someone who had some more than just common sense. He was brilliant. Dirty Harry, a fictional character played by Clint Eastwood. He's got something to say to a very unwise character, and that's Mrs. Gavin Newsom.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
It is a great, great person, Roger Stone.
The Stone Zone. This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
Roger Stone, who's one of the smartest political minds. Roger Stone was persecuted. People forget he's actually a brilliant, brilliant political analyst.
Now, get him his own. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And I'm Jake Novak filling in for Roger Stone. Speaking of people who are not helping the Democrats, Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom, who's going to run for president in 2028, his wife is not his friend because she keeps making incredibly moronic statements in public. And it's like the gift that keeps on giving. She either makes a new one every day or they find another one. Here she is talking about her experience talking to prisoners at San Quentin. You got to listen to this to believe it.
I mean, I had to be very raw when we interviewed the young men who were juvenile offenders in San Quentin. I told them about my own loss where I lost my older sister a few days before my 7th birthday, and I blame myself for her death. And I share that because that they ultimately were accused of committing these violent crimes and sentenced for life. And I think it shocked them that this, blonde lady who was, interviewing them had a similar story, was perhaps in the wrong place at the wrong time. But wasn't punished the way they were because clearly it was an accident, but theirs was probably an accident too. So anyway, I share that just because I guess, I quite enjoy spending time with people and being real and unmasking and showing them that it's safe to unmask themselves.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Accused of a crime. They were convicted, Jessica. And she's comparing herself and this accidental death of her sister to people who committed violent crimes, young or not. I mean, we can talk about redemption for them, but we're not saying it was an accident. I mean, think of how insulting this is to the families of the victims of these crimes. And by the way, it's insulting to the criminals too, frankly. This woman is an insult to a lot of things. But when someone says something stupid about San Quentin and people don't immediately remember this iconic line from Magnum Force delivered by Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry, I get sad. So I'm going to do it for you. And I only wish that Clint Eastwood could deliver this to Jessica right now. Listen to this.
Roll down your window. What? Roll down your window. Come on, I've never been wrong yet, have I? What the hell I'm doing? Say, excuse me, can you help us out? What do you want? Maybe you could help us. We seem to be lost. We were looking for the entrance to San Quentin. You know where that is? It's back there. Don't you see too good? Yeah, I see fine. I just wanted to know whether you knew where San Quentin was. And you do, don't you?
We bleeped out the last line from Clint there. Yeah, Jessica may know how to get to San Quentin, but she certainly doesn't know anything about the life of a prisoner, the life of prisoners, of the people who were the victims of those prisoners there. these were convicts. These weren't people who were accused of something. They were convicted. And we don't try to compare ourselves to them because we had an accident once, no matter how terrible it was. My goodness. If Gavin Newsom really wants to be president, I guess he's trying to prove, can I be the most failed governor in the country with the dumbest first lady and still win the Democrat nomination? I guess he's trying to see if he can do that. I'm Jake Novak. I've been filling in for Roger Stone this evening on the Stone Zone. Have a great rest of your week.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.